to this because we want to be punctual and respectful of everybody's time. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Rob Hanna. I am the founder of KC Partners. We're a legal talent solutions and content creation firm focused all around community. I've been in the recruitment and careers space for over a decade, and I also host these LinkedIn audio creator town halls every Sunday where we're working together with LinkedIn to try and finesse this product so we can all win as creators and consumers as the rise of social audio continues on. I'm also the host of the Legally Speaking podcast, and with my good friend you see here on stage today, Caleb, we co-founded an initiative called Virtual Insanity this year, which aims to bridge the gap between the mainstream and the metaverse, where we provide a lot of digestible content around what we talk about in these Monday LinkedIn live sessions with our good friends Mitch and Francesca, all things NFTs, Web3, and the metaverse. That all said, you all know I like to collaborate with the right and like-minded people. So we have an amazing panel, as always, for our Monday LinkedIn sessions. I'm delighted to be joined by a good friend, mentor, and thought leader, Mitch Jackson. He is an award-winning 2013 California Litigation Lawyer of the Year. Over the last 35 years, Mitch has helped hundreds of clients with their startup, business planning, litigation needs. And when Mitch isn't representing clients, he also enjoys giving keynote presentations focused on helping people better understand and leverage the intersection between law and tech. And recently, I'm very excited to announce Mitch and his son Garrett co-founded Manu VR, a leading edge metaverse and Web3 consulting agency. And that is just going to absolutely crush it, folks. Mitch knows what he is talking about, and he's put a lot of time and energy and effort into this. So you definitely want to check out more at mitchjackson.com, that's for sure. Joining us is, again, a very dear friend of mine, Francesca Witzberg, who is a top trademark and copyright lawyer. She helps individuals and businesses and across a numerous amount of categories, from entertainment, fashion, beauty, luxury, tech, consumer products, you name it. And she's been able to enforce and monetize their intellectual property assets for a number of years. And she's counseled top businesses as well, celebrities, artists, athletes, influencers, and many, many more. And she is very immersed in the space that we like to be talking about here in these LinkedIn audio discussions, and runs her own Decentral Lawyer social media handles, where she provides aspects on all things related to trademarks, brand protection, related to up-to-date content around Web3, NFTs, and the metaverse. So someone you definitely want to be clicking the bell for on her profile to follow. And as always, with hosting these spaces, I'm joined by my dear friend and fellow co-founder of Virtual Insanity, Caleb, who is also a Web3 entrepreneur, NFT community builder, and one I like to describe as one to watch in terms of definitely going to be one of the rising stars in this new movement of Web3, and very much really helpful in terms of me getting this off the ground. And it's a great team effort. So just to make everybody aware, we do record these rooms, so all of the content shared is purely for educational purposes. So we'll be running for about an hour. And in the meantime, please do hit that invite button. Invite some of your friends, some of your connections into the room so we can all learn and mastermind together, because this is still new. So please take a chance to bring someone in your community who you know would benefit from today's discussion. Also, let's promote, let's let the word out there. So take a screenshot, tag myself, my fellow co-host on LinkedIn, and maybe share some of your key takeaways from today, or what you're hoping to take away from today's discussion. And of course, we always like to make these an inclusive space. So if you'd like to come up onto stage at any point, please do just feel free to raise your hand, and we'll be more than happy to answer your questions or hear your insights or whatever you have for the community. So maybe you have a specific question you want to fire away to Mitch or Francesca in particular. They're here to help you. And I always say, be selfish with your time. Use this time to upskill, learn from those that are investing the time, energy, and effort into this new digital world we're living in. So I really encourage you all to take action and also network in the room. So what are we talking about today, folks? As per the title you see, and this is Francesca's mastermind idea, and it just shows how on the pulse she is, we're talking about social currency, how NFTs and the metaverse will evolve online marketing. So with that, I've got some initial questions for the panel, for Mitch, Francesca, and for Caleb, to get the conversation going, and then we'd love for you to start raising your hands. So Francesca, I'd love to come to you first. So I always like to start these rooms with some sort of basic definitions. So how would you define social currency in a sort of Web3 perspective? You have the mic, my friend.
Thank you so much, Rob. And so I think it's important just to define social currency in general. Social currency is what's happening right now. We're all, for us four up on stage, we have 24 people listening. We have 24 times eight, I'm sorry, times two eyes on us right now. That is currency. All of you in here and networking with one another to getting able to tap on each other's photo and connect and follow each other. That's social currency. Social currency is really, as it relates to branding and marketing, it is a exchange of your time and your efforts for some sort of value that you're getting, whether it's new business, new contacts. There's value in being online. I think that's really what essentially social currency is. And when we think about it, we're all vying for that time. We're vying for that attention, not in a negative way, but really by providing value to your communities, to your potential clients. You're on these platforms to speak, to be heard, or to consume content. So whether you are a content creator or content consumer, you are either consuming that currency or putting out that currency. And so I want people to start thinking about social media just from that perspective, which that kind of has been thought about for a while, and I'm sure the people in here, you all understand that. But for some more traditional professions, the legal industry, we're starting to recognize that just being online isn't something that you do in your free time anymore. There really is this social currency aspect to it. Okay, so now that is social currency in the Web 2 space. What does it mean really for Web 3? NFTs, the metaverse, and Web3 all can be used in a similar way from a branding, a marketing, community perspective. But I like the word social currency because it's kind of a double entendre, right? Because there's social currency without literal tokens and crypto, but we are taking it to that next level where it is a literal currency. You can actually use cryptocurrency and the blockchain and NFTs in particular to give currencies to your community and to your followers and to your NFT holders. So I have been diving really deep the past couple of weeks trying to see how people are already using NFTs to create community, but and basically trying to study that and see how it's going to be used in with our professional businesses or for any content creator. And it's been blowing my mind, honestly, to see what's already being used out there for NFT projects. But so when it comes to NFT technology, right now, we are all still really early. Do I think that everyone in here is going to have their own NFT project this year? Absolutely not. But do I think that NFT technology is going to be how we build our communities and give back to our audience? Absolutely. I would say that though that technology probably will be more mainstream in the next like 5 to 10 years. So if we're saying that's in 5 to 10 years. Why are we having this conversation so early? It's because all of you that care about this, you have an ear to the ground. You're going to be thinking about how do I integrate this technology? When's the right time for me to do it? And so that once it becomes more easily accessible, you all are going to be at the forefront, ready to go, not needing to be persuaded on why the technology is important, but you're really going to be some of the first people to utilize this technology to give back to your audience. Now, I just said all of that. Let me explain very simply how NFTs in particular are going to be able to allow you to give back to your community. So you can create an NFT project. Let's say you start with 1,000 NFTs. Okay. So 1,000 people from your community can purchase an NFT. And by holding that NFT, they can get access to, for example, this is a non-exclusive list. They can get access to your masterminds, live in-person events. Maybe you come and speak on their podcasts. You give them certain services. Whatever it is that you offer or that you want to offer, you can give access to your NFT holders. And what's great about it too is every time that they decide to hold on to it, they're getting something. But let's say that they decide that they want to sell it. Okay. Every time that they sell their NFT to a new member, you now get a new member and you actually get a percentage of the sale. So every time your community is trading your tokens and your, apologize, your NFTs, then you get a percentage of your royalty. You can actually build that into the smart contract. So let me just take one more step back and explain the NFT. So an NFT is a non-fungible token. And what it can do is it utilizes blockchain technology so that you can give someone access to a digital type file that is on the blockchain. So that basically authenticates it. So people keep asking me, Francesca, what's the difference between right clicking and saving an NFT? It's exactly this. Someone can right click and save your NFT if you're a community builder. They're not going to get access to the masterminds. They're not going to get all of the utility that you're giving them. There's something real about holding that NFT. And then when you create those NFTs, you can actually put in the smart contract how much percentage you want to keep. And so that every time perpetually there is a sale, you automatically get a percentage of that sale. So this does two things. One, it gives you an actual revenue stream, which will motivate you to want to give as much value to your NFT holders as possible. And then your NFT holders will actually be able to own a piece of your content. If you make it that way, you can really make it so that they're really active, and whatever NFT you give them, you can actually give them, a percentage of your your assets. Now, I just am saying this from a really high level perspective because there's no limit. The only limit is your creativity, and we're only scratching the surface on this. We're seeing private mastermind clubs be built by a lot of the really high level, I would say, the high ticket NFT project teams, the people who have done it, who have made millions. Now they're creating private communities in the form of NFT projects that people buy into so that they get to mastermind with these really deeply knowledgeable people in the NFT community. And so I'm using that as kind of a case study to see how it's going to apply to our space. But the technology itself is what is so revolutionary. And once it becomes a little bit easier to and safer, I think that's important. Once it becomes more easily accessible and safer to use this technology, the NFT technology is how content creators and community builders are going to give back to their community.
Thank you so much, Francesca. That was such a great comprehensive overview. So hopefully everyone in the audience, you've got a good understanding of social currency, and Francesca's given some really good practical examples there and how things are going to evolve. But if any of that, we want to make sure this is an inclusive space, you're not sure, you want to clarify a point or ask a question about anything, feel free to raise your hand and come up onto the stage. I'm going to jump to Mitch in a second. I just want to say hi to some friends in the audience. Sam, it's great to see you. He's also in the legal recruitment game, top recruiter. So good to see you. Great to see you popping in. Also, Akil Hunt. He's an absolute superstar in the legal world and the founder of the NRG Lawyers. We're going to be hosting a space tomorrow at the same time here on LinkedIn, talking about how we can increase I guess, overall accessibility for the legal profession, which I'm super excited for. And Mark, great to see you. You've always been a great support. And Stuart, thanks for tuning in. And Bez and many, many others, Felipe as well. We all appreciate you spending some time with us today. So, Mitch, firstly, if you wanted to build on anything that Francesca just mentioned when it comes to social currency, feel free. And then I was also going to ask you, what would you say would be some good examples of social currency successfully used in marketing, particularly related to sort of NFTs and the metaverse? Because this is something you're doing so well.
Well, thanks, Rob, and it's good to be here today, everyone. Caleb, Francesca, it's always good to see you and share the stage. I want to invite Nick Webb up in a few minutes to share his perspective on what we're talking about from a Gen Z, from a USC college student's perspective, Nick. So don't be shy and raise your hand. So social currency can be good and bad, right? And when we're talking about Web3, I'm talking about NFTs and blockchain smart contracts. I'm talking about also metaverse projects. You want to make sure that the social currency that you're building obviously is favorable towards your brand. And it's all premised around, as Francesca so eloquently stated, it's premised around, our social media or digital presence, in this case, our presence on the Web3 platforms. That's why it's so important. Now, when we're talking about social currency and building our brand and marketing, Rob, and I'll get to a couple of specific examples. I don't know about everybody else in this room, but in the real world, before the internet came along, before social media, before Web3, I don't like being marketed to. Okay. And I don't think people and consumers are going to enjoy being marketed to in the Web3 space. So let me first lay a foundation with that particular comment. Having said that, I do think brand marketing, building brands, building relationships, building our communities, and Francesca alluded to this, and Rob and Caleb, you're very good at building communities, as you've been doing here in the LinkedIn Live environment. It's all about building communities. And the way you build communities is you share your brand, okay? Your brand is how you identify your values, your personality, effectively communicating your brand to your target audience is how you build that community and how you can build upon all the things that Francesca just mentioned. One of the reasons it's so important to have a specific and strategic, consistent brand equity is that it allows you to build your reputation, your trustworthiness, your market reach in a Web3 environment, because we're all simply a tap, a swipe, or a click away from losing a client or having somebody go sideways to another company, another agency, another lawyer. It's critically important that we focus on building our brands. And eventually in today's live audio, I'll share 5 specific steps that I think we can all take, regardless of what you do for a living, to build that brand, to help us with our marketing and branding efforts from the perspective or through the lens that I've just described. I think if we're looking for companies that are building social currency the right way, I mean, you've got to start off with maybe Apple. Oftentimes, people will purchase Apple products just because they like the identity and the values that they perceive that particular company has. Whether it's true or not true, I think that's just a great example of a fantastic brand. I think that when you look at professional sports teams, whether it's on Rob's side of the pond and we're talking soccer, or over on our side of the Atlantic and we're talking American football, a lot of people associate not just with what's happening out on the field, but they're associating with what the team's all about, their perception of the image, of the type of players that are down on the gridiron, the things that the team's interested in the local community, whether it's feeding the hungry or clothing the homeless with warm jackets in the wintertime, whatever it might be. All of these different teams and activities have brands. And I think the consumer connects with these brands in the real world, which then results in participation. It results in sharing, it results in ticket sales, and it results in end of year profits. I think in a Web3 environment, the companies, the individuals, the entrepreneurs, the creators that focus on building their brand and their social currency the right way in the long term are those that are positioning themselves for success from this point moving forward. Once again, let me just wrap up. There are 5 steps to building a proper brand, I think, in a Web3 environment, and none of those steps involve interrupting, misleading, interfering with, or traditional, marketing of another individual. Manipulation and scams may work in the short term, but when it comes to the long term, not only are they not okay and inappropriate, but it's not a good long-term play. And Francesca and I are seeing in the legal environments right now, the SEC coming down on a lot of different NFT drops right now for violating certain rules, regulations, and laws. And so what we've been seeing, all of the FOMO, all of the excitement over the last year or two in this space, there is now coming to be a day of what's the word? Recognition, a day of accountability, Francesca, with some of the things that are going on. Having said that, we can learn, we can watch, we can avoid making the same mistakes, and we can move forward and focus on building social currency in a Web3 environment that focuses more on branding than it does on traditional marketing.
Thank you so much, Mitch. That's a super comprehensive overview, and definitely just want to encourage everyone, make sure that you do click the bell. It's great to connect and follow, but because Mitch and Francesca are always producing content on this, you'll get notified when they do post and when they enter rooms and discussions, and it's probably the best ways to keep updated because Mitch and Francesca, and that's why Caleb and I are so keen to collaborate with both of them, because they are thought leaders when it comes to the discussion today and really do have their fingers on the pulse. Just out of interest, just to see people in the audience, what sort of audience we have in terms of sort of, I guess, emergence of Web3. How many of you, give me a thumbs up if you own an NFT or have purchased or been through an NFT sort of purchasing perspective. Okay, so we've got a few in the audience. How many of you have thought about it, but maybe you're not sure, you're worried it might be a scam, or you want a bit more information? How many of you are sort of on the fence? Give me a thumbs up if you're scared. Okay, that's interesting. And quite a few hands up as well. I guess that leads nicely onto the topic today, Francesca. In terms of, we are going to be moving into this new evolution of marketing through NFTs and, everything else that's involving with the metaverse. What would you say to those people, some of the signs to look out for, because Mitch was touching that again around the integrity, and, we talk a lot about rug pulls. What could you say to the audience to maybe they can become more informed so they don't fall short of being marketed to or scammed, given that is a bit of a worry for people in the audience? Did you want to sort of say something to that?
Yes, definitely. I think it's worth giving a snapshot of the state of NFTs. So NFTs have been around for years, but they really just came to the forefront, I would say, in, since COVID, like 2020, 2021. Bored Ape Yacht Club, which is one of the biggest projects. It's the picture of the apes. If anyone, who may not be so well versed with NFTs, you have probably likely seen a picture. It was a big NFT project that even did a collaboration with Adidas. They sell for 500,000 and up. These are some serious high valued digital art pieces, but they were just started in 2021. That, I think, is a good example of how early we really are in this space. We're talking about just the beginning of the first iteration of NFT technology. And what that first iteration really looks like is digital art. So you're reading about all these people making hundreds of thousands of dollars and buying apes and JPEGs for a chunk of money, mortgage value, like the value of cars. There is a lot of hype around the NFTs, and it's a very similar. I would say it's a similar market to what came out of the invention of the internet with the dot-com boom, right? And we all know what happened with the dot-com boom. It was a bubble that busted. So about 98% of the NFT projects, or potentially even more, will go to zero. These are illiquid JPEGs. People are spending a lot of money on them now, but what happens when there is that bust and that bubble, it's going to be hard for people to sell. It already is hard for some projects. So the current state of NFTs is that it's becoming more mainstream, more people are trying to get in, and if you think that you're going to buy and flip pictures and make hundreds of thousands of dollars, that is not happening. It's gambling at this point. And the more and more people that are coming in, there's been a lot of greed. The word rug pull, something Rob mentioned. What that means is there's projects that come out that get really hyped. They get a ton of marketing and influencers behind them. People buy in at a high level. They're spending $20,000 on one purchase on mint, and then the teams drop off the face of the earth. Or maybe they do it subtly, where all of a sudden they're not following their roadmap. They're not giving what they promised. This is where we're starting to see a lot of scrutiny because people are spending more money. There's more greed. People think that they can come in and make a quick flip. That is the current state of the NFT market. It's a bear market. People are starting to realize this is not what it was 6 months ago. It just wasn't. But so why are we still today then, if I'm telling you it's a bear market that's going to go to bust? Why is it important? I want to remind everyone it's because the technology, having blockchain verify the transfer of a digital asset that can give the creator a percentage of royalties automatically, is revolutionary. And that technology is going to be embedded, whether you're a content creator, a lawyer, a provider of goods. It is going to be it'll be integrated into our everyday lives because of the importance of it. So if you are looking, however, you're interested, you're here, you do want to buy an NFT, don't buy an NFT right now because you think you're going to make $100,000 selling it, or you think you're going to make a profit selling it. It's not the way it was even a few months ago, unfortunately. So if you do want to at least get involved in some of the digital art projects, where you see people putting up profile pictures, they're called PFP, profile pic projects, where you basically buy an NFT, and it is a social currency. It's token tribalism. I love that word. It's token tribalism. You can buy a token, you could buy a non-fungible token, NFT, and all of a sudden you are part of a tribe. You're really part of that community. You can get onto Twitter Space, meet some of the people. It's a community that you are getting access to. But what they're giving you, depends. So you do have to do your research. And remember, majority of these projects right now aren't giving the value that they're promising. There's a lot of scams. So I will tell you, if you are interested in the technology, you do want to buy some crypto, I would go to Coinbase, buy some cryptocurrency, buy Ethereum, then you can set up your MetaMask and actually buy an NFT on OpenSea. You don't have to spend thousands of dollars. You can find something that you think is interesting because either you've researched it and you believe in it, but do not buy because you think you are going to make money. It's a bear market right now. And I will say, I do have to say, this is not financial advice. This is not legal advice. I'm just giving you just some actual, like, what's going on, because I'm very involved in the NFT market. And so it is important for you all to understand from a personal perspective why NFTs are important, but also from your business, because you're going to figure out how to integrate the technology. And if you're interested in learning, I would say, buy some crypto, buy an NFT. You don't have to spend a ton of money, though. You can find a very low, modest price just to be able to say, hey, I bought an NFT and I understand it. So that's my spiel.
I think that's excellent spiel, as always, Francesca. Mitch, did you want to dive in on anything Francesca said there, and from your own perspective?
Yes, just quickly, and then we can open this up with the audience. I know I've got some friends that want to jump up on stage. Francesca mentioned, the risk involved with what we're talking about. Just last month in February, OpenSea, Looks Rare, and the Bay, and the Bored Ape Yacht Club, Yuga Labs, were named in a $6 million NFT negligence lawsuit. out of the state of Nevada, if I'm not mistaken. And so you got to be careful about what's going on. But I want to bring the conversation back to what we can do as business owners, what we can do um, with our products and services, and tapping into the power of Web3, which is everything we've talked about, right? And I think that's what's really exciting. Looking at this from, I want to build my business out, I want to promote my products and services that I've been selling in real life or in a Web 2.0 environment, and I want to take it into Web3. How do we do that? And one of the beautiful things I think about Web3 is we can tap into the community and our ability to build brands in the community using these 5 steps. Number one, what you want to do is sit down with your team, your company members, and establish a company vision. What's the vision that we want to share on all of these different platforms that Francesca and Rob have already talked about, and bring a community together based upon that vision? That's number one. Number two, you want to identify a strategic target market. You want to really dive deep on this one. In other words, it's not just people between the ages of 21 and 35. It's people between the ages of 21 and 35 that maybe want to start a business that takes college athletes and shows them how to market their brand, which we can now do here in the United States under the new NCAA rules, regulations, and guidelines. Be very specific. In fact, dive deeper. In fact, when it comes to that college level of athlete, I'm looking at women's sports. I'm looking at women's soccer players, and really dive deep when building your brand. That's something that I think a lot of companies miss out on. Number three, you want to be consistent. You want you and your team members to build out this business brand when tapping into the power of Web3 in a very consistent manner. That means daily content, daily interactions, daily shows, daily postings, if you're really serious about doing this. Number four, you want to make sure that your brand marketing follows through in real life. What you say you're going to do in the Web3 environment, whether it's in a Discord or whether or not it's in a conversation around an NFT drop that your company is promoting or rolling out, you want to make sure that what you're saying in real line is congruent to what's happening in real life. And then number five, you really want to draw emotion into everything we just talked about, those first 4 steps. You draw emotion into the engagement in the community building through storytelling, through videos, through the appropriate photographs and graphics, okay? If you're building out your Web3 environment in a virtual or metaverse type of environment, you want to make sure that you're drawing emotion with how you're designing and clothing and manipulating your avatars in the voices that are being used when you're communicating through your avatar, how you're communicating your message. Are you passionate? Is it monotone? Are you using metaphors? Are you using storytelling? So I think by incorporating those 5 steps of brand marketing into what we're talking about today and focusing more on your company and your business and how can you tap into this type of technology to move forward, okay, which is where my head's at. I'm not really that concerned about what everybody else is doing. I'm concerned about what can we do and what can we do to help our clients to find success and accomplish their goals moving forward. I'm more focused on what we have control over instead of what everybody else is doing. I think by taking those 5 steps, I think by doubling down on what you've already heard today and bringing those back into your company, bringing those back into your products and services, that's a great way to start leveraging all of the opportunities that are available to us, unlike ever before. And it's a great way to build your brand because, frankly, you're going to be the only person in town, in your state, maybe even here in the United States or in the world, that is promoting and building the community like we talked about in these Web3 environments. And just by being the first, it allows you to get your voice heard above the noise. By being the first and using these 5 approaches the right way, it allows you to stand out in a sea of sameness. By being the first, it gives you an advantage from everyone else who you might normally look at as being a competitor. And when you're first and you're doing things that other people haven't even thought about in the Web3 space, that's where you can actually build, a dynasty. And so I wanted to pivot back, Rob, just to, for those of you that have businesses and want to move forward, this is what I would recommend you doing. And once again, I'd love to get Nick Webb up here if he hasn't already raised his hand. I'm in a different platform, and Bez is here, but get some input from some people in the audience, definitely. Oh, there we go. Nick's up. Let me just run with this. Hey, Nick, it's good to see you. Tell us a little bit about, I happen to know that you're interested in what we're talking about. Tell us just quickly, who you are, what's your major, and why are you so damn interested in this type of technology?
Right. So, how's it going, everyone? Thank you so much for allowing me up here. I know Mitch's son, Garrett. We both go to University of Southern California. I just finished my degree in public policy, and right now I'm an operations manager for a startup around here. But I'm extremely interested in Web3. And ever since about early November, I've been looking into NFTs and just Web3 in general. And it's just been a great process, and I'm just trying to educate myself as much as possible during these early days, because I definitely agree we're very early.
Attracts you to Web3, Nick? What is it about Web3 that maybe you didn't see in some of the other Web2 platforms?
Well, definitely, like Francesca was saying, the ability of smart contracts to implement a royalty, so that if you have something and it gets sold multiple times, then you'll automatically get a royalty on that. I think that the tech is very interesting. And also, I just have always been a very techie person growing up playing video games. I learned Discord. I learned like a lot of computer shortcuts and other things like that I didn't realize I was kind of learning at the time just by playing video games. And that's one thing that I think is really important in, I guess, the development of NFTs and Web3 is not only are people my age and above going to be adopting it over time, but I also think the kids in middle school and high school right now who grew up playing video games, grew up on VR and stuff, they are all going to adopt it already, because it'll just be like a regular aspect of their lives. They're used to being on their VR headsets or their iPads and iPods, and so I think that's something that people often like forget, is that it's not only us adopting the technology, but it's also people growing up and becoming adults, and they've already been using this technology their entire lives, while their parents are at work or while their older siblings are at school and stuff like that.
Bookmark that, everybody. Nick hit it right on the head. And I think, Nick, when you take what you just shared with what we've been through over the last couple of years with social distancing, with remote working, with the interest of consumers being able to get their business challenges taken care of while sitting on the couch in their pajamas, not having to travel into the office. When you look at 5G technology catching up and the speed and processing power of needing to do all that we need to do to accomplish what you just mentioned, I think the stars are aligned for just a really dynamic, fascinating a future for all of us. And those are the reasons that Garrett and I think everybody here on stage, why we're so darn excited about moving forward in these technologies, because this is the time, this is the place. I think the mindset's there. And I wanted to have you up and just share your Gen Z perspective, which you did so well, Nick. So thank you for that. And if you see Garrett, give him a high five, tell him to behave himself. And I'm going to hand the mic back over to you, Rob.
Thanks, Mitch. Can't wait to hear more from the business perspective of Web3. I'm going to hop down. Thank you guys so much for your time.
Rob, I don't know if your mic's working. Francesca, can you hear me?
Hear you, Mitch.
Okay. I can't hear Rob, and I don't want to speak over him.
Caleb? I can't hear Rob either.
Okay. So, Rob, I think we've lost your audio. Caleb, we may have lost your audio also. Francesca, if you can hear us, kick in. I'm getting some messages here. But Bez, since you're up on stage and you always add so much value to our conversations, Why don't you share with us your thoughts, your comments on what you've heard so far? And I'm going to ping my co-host while you're speaking.
Okay, well, I have 21 questions ready, and I think I'm on question 3, Mitch. So I'm just going to go down my list if that's okay with you. but
Hey, absolutely. Go for it.
I'm in the learning mode and learning phase. I think many of us here are. I don't claim to be an expert in this area, but I can imagine all of us in this room 12 months from now, because of us asking questions, people are going to be thinking we're experts when we're like, well, I guess, but I'm really excited about the technology, and you mentioned something about 5G, and things are lining up. Um, so yeah, it's exciting. However, I have a question. I keep thinking about securities, and then um, creators out there trying to sell goods and services, membership access. Um, how can and you had mentioned something in a TikTok post about the Howie case. How can we sort of in a simplified manner without, you know, of course, you know, getting we'd have to do more or get, you know, legal advice or financial advice, but what's a simplified demarcation point or test we could do that keeps us away from the security aspect, which the SEC is very interested in, and then that part where creators, hey, they just want to give their community more access, make money, and different things like that. Could you help us out, please?
I can try. And I also want everyone to know that LinkedIn Live Audio is in beta, and Rob and Caleb, I believe, are one of the 200 initial users helping us kick the tires on this platform. So they are relogging in through their phones and other devices. If you guys want to unmute and jump in, please do. You will not be interrupting. You will simply be joining us back into this conversation. Also, those of you in the audience, if you want to jump up on stage, raise your hand, and we would love to have you participate. So what Bez is talking about is right now, I posted on my Twitter feed, I think it was on Friday or Saturday, a couple of big lawsuits, a couple of big actions that the Security and Exchange Commission have filed against some major cryptocurrency platforms and a couple of NFT platforms. And it has to do with whether or not these large NFT drops are considered securities. And if so, are they complying with the rules and regulations and guidelines required of them if in fact they are securities? That's something we see that's going to be looked into moving forward. I don't have the list in front of me on the Howie case. There are 4 factors that the case will be looking at. I think Francesca can also add to the fact that what we're hearing is there's a possibility, and once again, no financial or legal advice is being given, but there's a chance that maybe NFTs will be looked upon a little bit differently than cryptocurrency when it comes to whether or not they fall under SEC rules, regulations, and guidelines. The 4 steps, I mean, just off the top of my head is, is there an investment that's being anticipated? And generally with most NFT drops, there are investments, right? Number 2, is that investment designed to create a profit? The answer is yes. When do we go into business? When do we invest in something to lose money? Not too many people do that. Number 3, one of the elements is there a person or promoter or a company that's kind of behind all of this, organizing things? I don't have the 4th step in front of me, but if you're getting into a large drop where you think, you know what, this looks like an investment, there's fractionalized NFTs involved, I'm being promised a return on my investment based upon the percentage of NFTs that I own, you might want to check with local counsel, Bez, and just independently determine whether or not this is something you want to be involved with. I think the exposure has more to do with the platforms or the major promoters behind these NFT drops as opposed to an individual participant / investor. I will tell everyone out there with respect to the creators that we represent, friends of ours that are doing individual or small NFT drops, they're artists, they're business owners taking advantage of NFTs with unlockable content like Rob and Francesca mentioned earlier. those 99 times out of 100 aren't going to fall under SEC rules, regulations, and guidelines. But if you have questions, you do want to check with experienced counsel. Let's do an audio check real quick. Unmute everyone. Can you speak? Can you hear?
I can.
There we
Hi,
go.
Mitch, can you hear me?
Okay.
Yep.
I can now. Yes.
Apologies, everybody. Yes, as Mitch very kindly mentioned, I could hear everything, but I couldn't speak, so I've just switched to the mobile. It is still in beta form, this LinkedIn audio. So thank you for bearing with me, and Mitch. And that's a beautiful example of Web3 and community, how Mitch just seamlessly can kind of just carry on the conversation, looks out for people, makes those announcements. It's all just about helping and, coming together. So appreciate you always as always, Mitch. And I just wanted to ask Caleb a quick question, and Francesca, if you wanted to dive in on any of the points, feel free to do so. And just to remind anyone in the audience, use this time to your advantage. If you've got a quick question, there's no silly questions. This is an ask us anything. We're here to help and serve the community. So please don't feel, oh, I don't know potentially what they've just mentioned, or that didn't quite make sense. Do not worry, because I can tell you for a fact, as great as everyone is on stage, there is no such thing as an expert right now when it comes to this topic. We're all learning, we're all evolving. So please feel this is a safe space. We'd love to hear from you. Caleb, a quick question for you would be...
Rob, are you saying we're all beta?
I am, for sure.
I think we're human betas. I love that.
I think that's a fair comment, Mitch. Yeah, absolutely. I would say you're probably more of an advanced beta than probably beta. So I'll definitely have to give you your flowers for that. And by the way, people should check out Mitch's the Metaverse Handbook, which is definitely something he talks a lot more about on his profile. But it's one of the things I'm going to be getting my hands on, and you definitely want to make sure you're getting your hands on that, as well as his new consulting business we mentioned at the start. So, Caleb, one of the quick questions I wanted to ask, obviously you are sort of, we heard from Nick before, sort of skills, things he grew up with, that sort of gaming, those skill sets. What are some of the skills you're working on as a sort of NFT community builder, someone who's trying to build community when it comes to this sort of new evolution of marketing? Are there things you're sort of actively working on each day that people in the audience may be thinking, okay, so what are some of the things I need to be thinking about? What are you currently doing?
Sure, I'll tell you some of the hardest challenges with keeping a community, or rather growing a community, is keeping them engaged. It's so hard. A lot of times I've seen a lot of these NFT profile picture collection projects going on. They are very hype-based, so I've been trying to take notes from them, because there's some things that they do right in terms of genuinely keeping people engaged and getting people to connect with each other, like on a Discord or on a Telegram. There's a lot of really cool graphics, motion graphics involved, a lot of hype videos, etc. A lot of it's superficial, because a lot of those projects don't end up seeing the light of day. They either get rug pulled or they just don't last, because again, it's hype based and it's not genuine. And I think that's one of the major contributing factors to these 98% of NFT projects going to zero recently. It's just everybody wants to put out an NFT project just because everybody's putting out a project, and there's no let's slow down and let's think about this. So that's something that I've struggled with. So how I've fixed that, how I've tried to gather the skill set is I've just been talking to people who have kind of built community in other avenues, and just trying to figure out what is it that gets a community connected. There's shared experience, so I've been trying to do add some certain features into our Discord server, but the challenge again is that the people that we're speaking to, specifically with our thing, Robert and I, it's hard to get those people involved, because we're talking to the Web 2 crowd. We're talking to people that aren't familiar and that don't have the gaming background that I do, where I'm very comfortable on Discord. I know it like the back of my hand. I can set up a server in 3 seconds and have everything on there, but not everybody's familiar with it. So the challenge is, how do you keep the community engaged? And really, at the end of the day, I found it's the content game. as much as I don't want to say I hate playing the content game, but it's very, it's not even that it's frustrating. It's just a lot of work. You have to play the content game. It's the same struggle that every entrepreneur has in 2022, and even in just recent years, is you have to play the content game. If you don't, you're gonna lose. You're gonna get lost in the sea of the internet. It doesn't matter if this is Web 2, Web 3, or Web 4. Now we are in a world where you have to play the content game, and you have to put out content on Twitter often. You have to put out content on Instagram. You have to do you have to start putting stuff out on TikTok, because if you leave TikTok alone out, you're gonna die as a business, let alone as an NFT project. So,
which scares a lot of people here, probably.
yeah. And let me tell you just a quick note on that. Like, TikTok's not scary, right? Everybody thinks that, oh, it's a dance app. You, my friend, are very behind if you think it's still a dance app. It stopped being a dancing app 2 years ago. It is everything. People post literally everything. The strangest part is that, and this is the saddest part too, is I've seen bits of the Ukraine war play out on TikTok, because everybody has a cell phone. So people that have seen the stuff firsthand are posting that stuff on TikTok. It's crazy to see. It's kind of scary, actually. So everything's on there, but really the main skill is the content game. It's really trying to figure out how to set up templates, because if I'm gonna put out content at scale, I have to come up with some sort of template so I can cut down time, and I want to have it high quality, because like Gary Vee says, you can't just put out content at high quantity. It has to be high quality too. The two have to be hand in hand. They have to be married to each other. If you do one or the other, it's not going to work. And I've personally tested this out, and he was right. It doesn't work. It has to be high quality as well. So really, the biggest skill is the content game. And in the world of marketing, there's three purposes of advertising. It's to, I forget the second one, but it's to inform, and then the third one is to remind. And that's the hardest part. That's the reason why you put out content. One of the reasons, not the reason, is to remind people you actually exist. As dumb as that sounds, if you don't put out any content, people are gonna forget that you exist. And you could have the highest quality content, and people are just gonna forget that you exist, because they are consuming content daily for hours. And if you don't penetrate that world that people are in, you're gonna lose. So again, the biggest thing is the content game, and because I'm personally still struggling with trying to get the community engaged. It's the hardest thing ever. How do you get people to connect? How do you get people that are from different experiences, different backgrounds, to connect on one thing? That's the hardest part. There's no clear-cut answer on that, because everybody's done it in a different way. But one of the biggest case studies people like to reference is the Bored Ape Yacht Club. I still don't understand how they've been able to do that. There's a lot of people that connect on various instances. I mean, really, I want to say the biggest thing that has connected this whole Web3 community is we're trying to slap the faces of everybody in Web 2, the people that have centralized everything, the people that are the gatekeepers, and those people that are they don't want people to control their own stuff. That's really who the Web3 community is quote unquote trying to fight. So there's that common enemy, but how do you break it down and get even more focused communities going? You can't just say, oh, hey, let's just all unite on that, because that's the general culture of Web3, but how do you get these smaller communities going? So to be honest with you, I don't have an answer for that. I'm still trying to figure out how that works with virtual insanity, and you could see how it'll work for these different NFT projects. They've all made it work for them. You just have to figure out what's going to work for you. But a big part of that is you do have to play the content game.
No, I completely agree. I think you shared so many, and thanks for being so open and authentic. And I think that's the thing, folks. There's nothing wrong with going on the journey and figuring things out and learning and sort of tweaking along the way. And yeah, I completely agree. There's still a lot to be worked on, but kind of getting that content game and keeping the community engaged, if you get it right, I mean, it can be super, super impactful, and you're definitely onto the way of sort of cracking the world of Web3. So with that, I'd love to welcome to the stage David. David, thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for being so patient. Feel free to introduce yourself, and if you wanted to fire away with a comment or a question for the panel, you have the mic. Just want to test that my mic is still working, folks. It might just be a bug David has. Can everyone still hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Thanks, Mitch. David, you may have to leave the event and come back. I think we're getting hit with quite a few bugs, unfortunately, with this event. So yeah, hopefully you'll be able to come back. And if anyone had their hand raised and for whatever reason got kicked out of the room or back to the audience, please do re-raise your hand, and we will definitely bring you back up onto the stage. In the meantime, just in terms of some sort of final thoughts and comments on the on the theme of today around social currency, how NFTs and the metaverse will evolve online marketing. Francesca, what would be some of your sort of final comments or thoughts around that in terms of what the audience can sort of be thinking about today? Any sort of concluding remarks from yourself?
I think it's great that everyone's is here and just learning. I think that's the number one thing you can do is just keep an ear to the ground, listen, observe. If you want to play around, if you really want to learn about NFTs, watch a YouTube video and do it safely. Buy your crypto, open your MetaMask, go on OpenSea, find the one that you want to buy and be very safe and try it. Buy an Oculus, see what VR is like. But you cannot sleep on this. COVID has changed everything. We are in a different world. It was pre-COVID and post-COVID, and now everything is all about your digital presence, your online brand. So just by being here, you are doing a fantastic job advocating for yourself, advocating for your business. And unfortunately, the people that won't take the time to listen and learn, they like quite literally, like Caleb said, they won't be able to exist because they're not online. Everything will be online. And if you don't have an online brand or an online business and not doing it well, businesses will go under. So it's great that you're all here, and I encourage everyone to just continue to learn and watch. Thank you so much, Rob and Virtual Insanity Caleb, for hosting this today.
My absolute pleasure, Francesca. And I think, as cliche as it always sounds, I never like to be the smartest in the room. And every time, whilst I'm hosting these events, I am learning. And I think, you've got to have that curiosity when it comes to Web3, and you've got to humble yourself because, you all have to start somewhere. I had absolutely no idea about the world of NFTs and Web3 probably about 6 to 9 months ago, but I've stayed curious. I've opened my mindset. I'm wanting to learn from people like Francesca, from Mitch, and other community builders in the Web3 space. So I would just encourage you all, just take a step forward to start. Like Francesca, being in these rooms is great, but go a step further. Join Francesca's Discord, Mitch's Discord, be part of their communities, join our Discord, get into the conversations, ask those conversations offline. That's the best way, because you can take the horse to water, but ultimately you have to take the action to then sort of upskill yourself. And there are so many resources out there. So again, sign up to Mitch's newsletter, Francesca's Decentral Lawyer account. All of these places are great sources of information to carry on the conversation. So I just want to jump to David. Hopefully your mic now allows you to speak before I jump to Mitch for some sort of concluding remarks. So David, if you're there, feel free to jump in. Oh, I'm so sorry, David. I think we're going to struggle today. I think our room's a little bit. Oh, yes, we can. Go for it. Feel free to introduce yourself from far away.
Hey, man, I'm so happy I caught you folks. Look, it's been incredibly informative today. I mean, I have a page full of notes from just listening to you folks going and discuss this. And, my question to the panel was like, Mitch, you did describe 5 steps, and I got it about, the last set that you did about, how we approach the Web3, putting the identity out there. But I missed what you said about how we advertise. You were going over your 5 complete steps about how we advertise. And then also question for Caleb, like what you're saying about that is so important. And is there any set template that you come up with? Because I'm thinking about how we utilize this. How do we make the connection between NFTs and the art part of it is a big deal, blah blah blah. But for me, the NFT real utility value is where I see this thing going. And I want to hear your thoughts on how do we connect NFTs to small businesses or corporations or companies, or foundations or 501(c)(3) stuff like that. How do we start taking the NFT and turning it for our business use in a real way?
Sure. You
Answer this one. Oh,
Oh,
sorry. I thought no. Go, Caleb.
yeah, no, go ahead. I actually just wanted to quickly clarify with the templates. Do you mean like a content template, or you mean a template for the
Yes.
NFT?
No, template for the content. Like like you said, keeping the audiences engaged in that realm is a pretty big ask sometimes, because people working with less than a few seconds of looking at your brand or whatever you're putting out there. But what kind of templates you found that work so far, and how can we dive more into that? Well, maybe at a later time, Caleb. But I'm interested in that for
Yeah,
sure.
no. I actually I want to let Francesca answer this because I want to go in a different direction, and I'm not going to answer this the way you think I'm going to answer it. But I want to
Okay,
let
no
Francesca
worries.
go first.
No worries.
No, yeah, sorry. And I have to hop off. And I wasn't sure if it was directed to Caleb or the group, so I apologize. But I believe that the technology just isn't really, it's here, okay? It's here, but if you want to create the NFT project, I would not do it just to make money right now, because with gas fees, everything Caleb said, the amount of challenge to build the community, and how are people going to, how are you going to get people to start buying crypto and using crypto and buying your NFTs if 99% of your community doesn't already have that technology? There's going to be a learning curve. I think it's still too early that this isn't going to be integrated into most businesses. So that's my 2 cents. And then I apologize. I have to hop off. But Caleb, take it away.
Yeah, thanks, Francesca, for being with us. I'm sorry you have to leave a little early, but and it is the top of the hour, so I do want to make this really short. We can talk about this later if you'd like. Really, if you ask any, let me preface this by saying I'm not an expert by any sense of the word, but if you ask any of the so-called experts, some of the genuine people that have been in this space for a long time, and these people that have created successful NFT projects, you say, what can I do with an NFT? Like, what is it that I can write in the smart contract? What kind of utility? Like, what can I do with an NFT? And every single one of those people will answer anything you can think of, anything that you can dream of. You can do that, and it's true. It's the same thing with in the AI space. Well, what can I do with an artificial intelligence? You can do literally anything that you can dream of. It's possible. I mean, it sounds really ridiculous and dumb, but it's not. I'm telling you, we've reached a point in time where you can program anything. I mean, in theory, we even in terms of science, we have the theory to do pretty much all the stuff you've seen in sci-fi. It's crazy. It's just the application is not there yet. But when it comes to programming, back to the smart contracts, you can do anything you want, really. So I don't want to give you ideas because I don't want you to be locked in to my way of thinking, because there are some things that people have done. I don't know if there is a marketing guy. I've been working with him. What he's doing is he's giving utility to, he's helping a barber give utility to his clients. So he's building out this metaverse where if you buy one of those NFTs, you get a full year of haircuts with his barbershop, and in his metaverse you also get a full year of whatever. But in the smart contract, it's written that it'll burn after a year. So it could be as simple as that. It could be as complicated as you want to make it. You could make it, something about thinking about, like, if you're buying tickets to the World Cup and you want to share it with 5 people and it only works for your team. And if your team makes it to the semifinals, You get that ticket up to that point, but if they get eliminated in the round of 16, you can't use it any farther because your team's eliminated now. So that NFT is written so that this is assuming that FIFA accepts NFTs and makes this a thing. But you can do whatever you want. That's the thing. You can write in your smart contract whatever it is you want. You just gotta think about. This goes back to business, really. You gotta think about what does your customer want, and that's the hardest question to answer in the world because you have to understand who your customer is. I mean, it's very tough. You have to figure out what it is that you're improving in their lives. Do they live a simple life? Do they live a complicated life? Are they into brands that are more sophisticated? Like what are they into? What are their hobbies? You have to think about these things. And once you get into that, then you can say, okay, this is the utility I want to give out. But I do want to see what Mitch has to say because I saw he even muted for a second. I don't know if you have anything to add to this, but that's kind of my thing. Don't lock yourself into what other people have to suggest, but just be creative and think about what it is you want to add in terms of utility. You got to think about what your customers want to see. What kind of utility do they want? That's really what it is.
Absolutely. I mean, I just wanted to compliment, what Caleb said with the following, success leaves clues, and don't feel like you need to reinvent the wheel. What you want to do is find who's already successful in your niche, in your business, in your profession, whatever it is might be. See what they're doing well on the platform that you want to start building out on. And then you can duplicate what they're doing, but include your own personality. You're not duplicating their content, you're duplicating their approach. And that's where the difference is. And if you tap into what's working for them, but you're sharing your content, your personality, that's where I've seen over the last 20 years, 30 years in marketing, 20 years on digital, and 5 or 6 or 7 years on some of the newer platforms. I'm watching a lot of successful people do just that. Number two, Caleb, you mentioned, building out the brand in your particular niche. My suggestion would be niche down, and then niche down some more. Really focus on exactly what that specific target market is. People that try to be, I'm not saying you're trying to do this, but companies that try to be, everything for everyone are also the companies that go out of business. And I think if you really focus on just niching down as detailed as possible, and then add your branding that we've already discussed in this show to your marketing and branding efforts, your product development, everything you do is about solving a problem, about fixing a problem. That's the type of marketing that works. It's about adding value and adding solutions to your clients and your customers. I think that's where Web3 comes in. And so, David, if you DM me, I'll share you the list of what we talked about earlier, but also see what's working, duplicate it by adding your own personality and branding into the content creation, and you'll be way, way ahead of your competition.
Okay, I appreciate that, Mitch. Yeah, I'll definitely give you a shout out later on. And Caleb, I appreciate your thoughts on it too as well. And Rob, man, I've been listening to you for a while, bro, and I definitely appreciate these kind of lives. We should do a couple together. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed all of you guys.
Well, right back at you, David. And yeah, I'm always open to collaboration. So, and great questions. And that's what helps the conversation. So, David, thank you so much for coming up. And, it helps fuel the speakers and gets the best out of Caleb, Mitch, and Francesca, who had to leave a little bit early. But we do try to keep these conversations punctual. So we have run over a little bit today. So thank you so much for sticking with us. But I hope you all got value from today's discussion. I also just want to highlight Felipe, who's in the audience, because he sent me an interesting message about what they're getting up to in the banking world and NFTs. So maybe we can try and look to bring that into some of our future conversations. So Felipe, when you're next around, we have more time, we'd love to hear that. But thank you so much, everybody in the audience. It's been really appreciated for all of your time. Stuart, great to see you. Ben, great to see you. And lots of amazing people in the audience. We don't take it for granted. We use these sessions to mastermind and upskill. So if you have enjoyed it, please do take a screenshot, share your takeaways, spread it with your communities, bring some more friends along. We're going to try and be be consistent for Mondays here on LinkedIn and bring as much value as possible. So I just want to say thank you so much to Bez, as always, for supporting us, coming up and asking great conversation questions, and to my fellow co-hosts, the wonderful Caleb and Mitch Jackson. And please make sure you do hit the bell for Mitch and check out his new business venture, his consulting gig. It's revolutionary. He's very much a pioneer. He really knows what he's talking about when it comes to all things Web3. Sign up to his newsletter, get part of his Discord. I'm learning from Mitch all the time, and I am fairly confident if you stick around Mitch for a few days, you'll find you know a lot more than you've probably seen on some of these other sites. So he takes the time to research and go a level deeper than many, many others. So thank you so much, everyone. We hope you've enjoyed today's discussion, and we'll see you around the streets of LinkedIn Audio soon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.